Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.
And we are live from New Rochelle at Iona University. We are back. It's been a pleasant weekend. And honestly, it's been a great day today. It's been nice and sunny. I like the weather being nice. But that does not stop the fact that we need to be here at the One and Done radio show talking ball because that's what we like to do. And if you are here watching once again, I really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who watches and clicks on the video, whether it's for a second or for an hour, whoever is clicking on it, I appreciate you. So I just want to let you guys know. And today we're here talking about in my opinion, the NBA's biggest problem, which is the NBA media. Because over the last weekend and week has been like chaos in the media. The fact that we have players beefing with analysts and analysts being doing whatever they're doing is just not how the media should be covered because it's not like that in other sports, but we'll get into that. We'll also talk a little bit more about the playoffs because it's coming up real soon. We got the 7 games left in the season. We see who pushes. We can talk about it again. The West is really close. But first, we're gonna get into the title of the video. The NBA media definitely needs to be stopped. I heavily believe so. I think that we have too many people who not only don't know what they're talking about, but are there for the wrong reasons. And it honestly hurts the game more than it helps. And this is from my point of view because I'll get onto later like other points of views. But Stephen A. Smith has been in a ongoing beef with LeBron James, and it's been kind of crazy. It gets wilder by the every day and kind of time you see the video or the clip of the things he says, going on his podcast, saying the things that he said, taking personal shots at LeBron. You can kind of just tell he's never really liked him. But it's not our point. It's not our point to really care if he likes him or not, because as long as the game is covered, the game is covered. And honestly, my problem with the media is they just don't cover the game in ways that a fan should be watch or understanding the game. Me personally, I don't watch those morning talk shows because I've kind of evolved past just people screaming and just like trying to get their point off when it's not really interesting to me. I don't find enjoyment in seeing people argue about points that can just simply be talked about. But I understand why they do it. They do it for the ratings. They do it to get more engagement because a negative engagement is still an engagement. So in my opinion, honestly, they're never gonna change. They they will favor the casual fan over the fan who really wants to be informed because there's other way to inform yourself on the game of basketball and other forms of media. I just think what's going on should show everyone that like we really shouldn't be entertaining this. Stephen A. Smith has gone on a tour run, like LeBron says, that after his interaction with LeBron at the Knicks game, where LeBron came up to him and confronted him, where he called LeBron, he said to LeBron, "As a father, you need to stop this," referring to Bronny because of when Bronny played in the game against the Sixers and he got some run in the first quarter. He was set to guard Tyrese Maxey and it didn't go too well. So instead of Stephen A criticizing Bronny, he told LeBron that as a father, you need to stop this, which is honestly the biggest problem because it's not about the game at that point. It's more about LeBron. And Bronny's his own player. He should be criticized in his own way, but he never will because he'll never get that fair encounter because he's LeBron's son, which we should know because without LeBron, there's no Bronny. There's no public figure of Bronny. So as long as they are playing together on the same team in the same league, LeBron will get the spotlight and then Bronny will come right after. I just think that It's not right the way Stephen A. Smith went at Bronny. Not for the fact that he couldn't play, because that should be criticized. If he's on the court and he's not producing, that's fine. But when you go about calling LeBron as a father, telling him to stop, that's where I can see where LeBron is going to be mad. Because how can you tell someone as a father, like, you like, stop this on national TV, knowing the voice you have? I could just imagine if I had a kid and I was going about however I was doing my kid, and someone told me that, "Oh, as a father, I personally wouldn't do that." I just feel like it's not your place to do and say that. I think if for everyone anyone who's watching this, you should go to your dad and you should ask him, if someone told you as a father, "I wouldn't let my kid do that," I want you to tell me what that your father would say. I'm really curious to see what their responses are, because I think just as a man personally, you shouldn't let someone that's not you shouldn't let someone tell you how to parent, because that's your job and that's what you should do. If you're doing a poor job, you're doing a poor job. But I don't think a parent who doesn't know your situation should come and tell you that as a father, I wouldn't let you do that. Besides the fact, LeBron came up to him, he engaged him face to face, like Stephen A. Smith has asked in the past, that if players have a problem with him, they should confront him and acknowledge him so they can talk it out like grown men. When LeBron does that, and Stephen A. Smith goes on a press run, like LeBron says, saying that LeBron made a weak move by confronting him in person. He should have done it behind the scenes. He shouldn't have done it in the middle of a timeout during a game. Which, yes, I could understand how that could be problematic, because there's cameras all over the arena, and like it happened, they recorded it and they sent it out and it blew up. But with context, we see, or we've heard, that LeBron's team, Clutch Sports, has reached out to Stephen A. Smith to talk to him, and he just declined him. There's media where he went on First Take and he talked about how, like, those it was Clutch Sports were trying to reach out to him, and he just declined it. Or it was a podcast, I think. They just declined him because he doesn't want to deal with the LeBron shenanigans. This is before the interaction happened. This is before the Bronny thing happened. No, it was actually after, but it was before the interaction. So we just went to further lengths to talk to Stephen A. Smith, to confront him about the personalization of talking about the media. And that had nothing to do with the game of basketball, and had all to do with him as a father. Which, yes, he's LeBron James. He is probably one of the biggest. I can't say he's one of the biggest athletes in the world, and is known globally. So people will always be in his life, if whether he likes it or not. But to a point where you are an NBA media source on ESPN, the biggest sports network in America, at least. I can't say around the world. I don't know specifically, but your voice gets out there, and you bashing him as a father gets out there, which had nothing to do with the game of basketball. If LeBron had 10 points and whatever, and he shot poorly and lost in the game, you can talk about that. Like he said, you can talk about the game of basketball. You can't, there's when you talk about me as a father, that's when it becomes personal, and that's when it becomes a problem. Which I very much agree. I don't think these athletes should be personalized in terms of not talking about their game on court on live national television, when there's no reason to be talking about that. So LeBron went on his press run with he went on the Pat McAfee show, had an hour-long show, watched the whole thing. It's interesting. He had some points that made sense. He had they talked about his life. They talked about his LeBron James, because LeBron rarely goes on media sites or media shows. Like, he goes on podcasts, a few of them. I remember he had his own Mind the Game. He went on Road Tripping two times. I remember watching those. LeBron, just when he's on a podcast, it's heavily viewed because it's LeBron James and people want to know what he has to say, especially about the game of basketball. But he went on the Kelsey brother podcast. That was a good one too. But he goes on these podcasts, and he decided to go on Pat McAfee. Maybe it's because Pat McAfee's on ESPN. He's one show right after First Take, and maybe Pat McAfee's the biggest competitor to Stephen A. So he went on that to really just boost the pettiness, because I can tell. Well, this is like, I can't really tell because I don't know him personally, but he seems like a really petty guy. But yeah, it's just LeBron went on the podcast. He said what he had to say, and he kind of emphasized the point that Stephen A. Smith isn't getting what LeBron is saying in terms of you were talking about him personally and nothing to do with the game. And Stephen A. Smith just brushes over that and just still continues to take personal shots at LeBron, which he did on the show First Take, where he made possibly the can't say the stupid because there's been stupider, but it's really bad. He went on saying basically just saying to LeBron, like, I know stuff about you that I just don't talk about. And then he lists off a couple. He says, I know why you were not like he asked, like, I don't know why you weren't at Kobe Bryant's memorial service. There was a bunch of athletes. I don't know why you weren't there. And then he goes, I don't know why you weren't at D Wade's retirement ceremony where he's a brother to you and he helped you win a championship. But if you really put context to the situation, you can tell that Stephen A. Smith just lied and about the Kobe Bryant memorial service because there's video, there's evidence that he was there. He just asked not to be on camera, and that really backfired on him. As when you an hour later, he goes on Twitter and he responds. He's like, what I said an hour when I first take it wasn't. It's not what I meant to say. It was heavily misinformed. It was actually I want to pull it up, but I don't know if I still can find it. But forget that. He also went on First Take and he said, I didn't mean to say that he wasn't there. I was just asking why he wasn't on camera and why didn't we see him there? That's all I want to ask. And he backtracked heavily. And with the D Wade thing, that same week D Wade went into had the retirement ceremony. LeBron's son had a cardiac arrest and he was in the hospital getting heart surgery. So I mean, there's priorities that you should have, and I don't know them personally, but I can almost guarantee there was an explanation to why he wasn't there. It would have been justified. Your son's in the hospital having heart surgery. I doubt you're gonna miss that. But hey, I guess Stephen A. Smith is different because he knows everything. He has so many connections. He's so well informed that he can just go on First Take, lie, give situations without context, and just expect people to just believe him and side with him. When in almost an hour later, like people were already finding context in situations and proving LeBron's point where you make things personal when they don't have to be. So I mean, there was no ball talk at all compared to this or in the situation. It was really just LeBron did this, LeBron did that. I responded with this, I responded with that. It was just like honestly like high school little kids shit, like little kid debates. Whereas like Kendrick Perkins says, "Oh no, Stephen A. Smith. Oh, he followed Kendrick Perkins because he said one bad thing about him." And then Kendrick Perkins goes, "Oh yeah, he unfollowed me and I blocked his number on my phone." Kendrick Perkins, you're 40, you're 50 years old. Why does this matter to you? You're still gonna talk about him. He's still the biggest athlete in your sport. You can't go a show without talking about him because of how big of a name he is. So what's the point of saying all this? Just to for what? To have your pride intact and your ego be satisfied? And honestly, I believe Stephen A. Smith has one of the biggest egos in the entire world. He can never be wrong. There are situations where he has just been wrong and he just goes lengths to try and prove himself as he's right. When it comes to the LeBron situation, he never acknowledges, he never admits when he was wrong by saying that, "Oh, I said that he wasn't at Kobe Bryant's memorial service." He just backtracks and says, I didn't say that. I said this." When we have clips of you saying it, you said it. It's broad daylight. It's clear. We all know what you said. Also, going back to the Lonzo Ball situation where he said, "Oh, I know Lonzo Ball can't even walk. He can't even move." And then Lonzo goes to Twitter and he posts or Instagram. He goes to one of the social media sites and he posts a picture of him standing up on his knee that he said he can't walk on. This is years ago. And then Stephen A. Smith doesn't admit that he's wrong. He goes, "Lonzo, I know your doctors. I can call them and they could tell me that you can't walk." And he also says that, like, "Oh, that's not you walking, that's you standing up." But you don't realize that you said that this man can't walk. And when he proves that he can't walk, you just backtrack and say, I know your doctor. Like, I can tell you that that like what they told me, and we can show the records." He has an ego problem. And that's why I believe he never will. It never will happen until he just decides to become a politician or he decides to retire. But Stephen A. Smith will never leave ESPN because he is at this point, he's the face of ESPN. But my problem with this is that he shouldn't be the face of ESPN because of how misinformed and how much he ruins the game, in my opinion. I asked a couple people, I asked them, how do you feel about Stephen A. Smith? These are more casual fans. They don't really watch every game, they don't really understand, but they are into basketball and they think he's good. They think he's entertaining. And that is what ESPN is going for. They want him to be entertained. They want to entertain people. But as long as you promote that as an entertainment site and not it's a debate show, it's all this, but it will never work because they are on ESPN, the biggest sports network in America. They are partnered with the NBA, so that there are games on ESPN every other day. You can't if you're watching a game on ESPN like a primetime game at halftime, those Kendrick Perkins, Richard Jefferson, Malika Andrews, Stephen A. Smith, they all come up on the TV. Some better than the others, but there's always the couple bad ones on the show on the screen. And you can either switch the channel or you gotta watch it. There's honestly no escaping it because they are partnered with the NBA. They're partnered with the NBA. So when they just lack the ability to give statistical analysis and proper information on the game, like as a fan, I want to be informed about what I'm watching because I don't know everything about the game. I will want to know. I want to know more. I want to be more informed. I want to know what I'm watching. I want to know the type of sets I'm watching, the type of actions that they're running, the type of offense that they play, the defense that the coverages, the way that they just stop teams, the game plan. I want to know this stuff because as a fan, you want to know because it's better to know what you're watching. It's fun to see an action that you have seen before and have heard about before and see it put on screen and put in real life. The NBA is all about plays, practices, setups, like all these type of it's a mind game, and we want to know and be more detailed into that mind game. The NFL does a great job with this with their NFL Live. I feel like they break down the game perfectly. They have former players, they have guys who know what they're talking about. They have women who know what they're talking about too, which is I appreciate. No matter if you know what you're talking about, you know what you're talking about, man, woman, whatever you are. I just like people who know what they're talking about. And if I can be informed by whoever, I feel like that is a good aspect to the game. Being informed on stuff that many fans don't know because they are not in these huddles, they are not in these timeouts, they're not on the court. We don't know everything that's going on unless you are in these spaces and have like professional experiences. We genuinely don't know unless you are informed by someone who has informed you on these type of sets and actions that they run. It's when I watch the game, I look for the type of defense the defense is running, the type of offense that they're running, and how they play their game. And some are pretty obvious, but some are hard to understand unless you have it broken down to you because offenses are so complicated and defenses are more a little easier to understand because there's only so many. But offenses you can run anyway. There's more like a lot reliable ones. There's less what's it called? There's less utilized ones. But it's just I feel like the understanding of the game helps the fan become more interested in the game because it's a fast-paced game, so it's gonna fly by you, and you're never gonna be bored unless you're just watching a bad game. But and this like modern NBA, there's more good games and bad games because more teams are talented compared to the previous generations. That is just I'd want to talk to someone who believes that, but I just think they're more nostalgic based bias. But besides that, I think it's just, in my opinion, as a fan who has been watching for however long, I think it is better to understand the game. And having people who can preach that knowledge onto you is something I'd like to watch. There are great reporters, there are great analysts. JJ Redick was a great analyst. I I tune into his podcast, his breakdowns, his all this stuff, and it helps because he's done this. He knows what he's talking about. He's an NBA coach. He was an NBA coach, basically teaching us how these offenses worked and these players, or that he broke down these players, how they played, how they distributed, how they play made their offense. That type of stuff is what I like to watch. But not every fan likes that, and I can understand why not every fan's like that because they just want to hear man screaming. They want to hear the interactions. They want to feel what they feel when they're talking to their friends. The debates, the heated arguments, the one side having one way and the other side having the other way, whether they may not believe it or they do. I can understand the heated camaraderie that they want to see. That honestly statistical analysts can't really provide, which is why ESPN will never switch over to that side of basketball because it does not bring in the ratings that these heated arguments and clips and clickbaiting stuff will bring in. And that's honestly why I believe the game is going to be ruined. It's there's too many great teams in the league with dominant performances and historic offensive production that like we just don't know about because either they're not talked about or they're not broken down to us because we there's no one to break it down for us. On ESPN, there are some good ones, but there are a majority of your talking heads who are there for the entertainment. They're more of like an actor, a personality to just bring in attention. I mean, good job for them. They can handle the scrutiny. They can do all this screaming and yelling and stuff and still be there. But like you genuinely can't tell me that they know basketball to the levels of some other people. Like Stephen A. Smith, I think he knows. He legitimately watches zero games, and I like I think he knows that, and I don't think he tries to fake it. I think everyone knows it because he really breaks down the game the same way every time with just different teams. He always talks about, oh, this brother's a good player. This brother's a all world. This brother's all this, and then it's just like you're just reading notes off your phone. But hey, you can't hate. He's a millionaire. He did this off of reporting and building his way up, which is respect. Like I'd love to be that type of person where I can build my way up and make $100 million off of the deal. That's just a dream. We can't hate on him. But I just believe he's ruining the media. So I am hitting on him. So and also Shaquille O'Neal. That also brings these NBA legends. They're NBA legends, but they need to go. They are ruining the game as well. A couple weeks ago, Shaquille O'Neal was on a podcast with some white guy. I honestly don't know his name. He's on TNT. He's a guy. He's their Ernie replacement, and he was talking about the Pistons. The Pistons were he was like oh, the Pistons are what? They're 6 games under 500. We shouldn't be talking about them. And the guy pulls it up. The Pistons were 6 games over 500, and he didn't know that because he clearly doesn't watch the game. And now the Pistons are the 5 seed in the East after being dead last year and breaking a record for losing. They made the biggest turnaround. I can't say in NBA history because there's probably been better like statistically, but it's one of them. They're 42 and 33. They're gonna make the playoffs. Regardless, they're gonna be a top 6 seed. I just think that they were 14 and 68 last year. Going from 14 and 68 to a top 5 seed in the East. Maybe it's a little weaker because it's the East, but they have 44 wins, 42 wins. My bad, 42 wins, and now they're playing the hardest ball we've seen in a while. They've got behind their coach and JB Bickerstaff. They have got behind their star player in Cade, despite him being out, and they've still been winning games. They just have a culture. They've built a culture around in Detroit, which is impressive to do in 1 year. JB Bickerstaff has definitely raised the floor of this team. Shout out to him, even with dealing with injuries throughout the year. Cade Cunningham's going to be an All NBA player, whether it's second, third team. It's one of them. He well deserves it. The way he's been producing this year was crazy. Shout out Jalen Duren. Shout out Asar Thompson. Malik Beasley has revived his career. Shout out to them. They're a fun team to watch. If you ever have the ability or chance to watch them, just watch them. They're fun. The way they play is fun. They won't ever say that because the legends don't watch the game. Shaq's a legend. Charles Barkley's a legend. They don't watch the game. Their names are just Shaq and Charles Barkley. That's why I genuinely think that they provide entertainment. But if that's what you're looking for, that's what you're looking for. But if you're someone like me who does not want to look for just like I have 4 rings, like you're fat, you're this, like why I don't want to watch that. In terms of like when I want to watch basketball, if I'm in the middle of a game and I go to halftime and they're just bashing, oh, this guy can't do this. This guy should be doing this. He's not as productive as he should be. but it's just nonsense. It's not critique in the way that it should be critiqued. There's critique, there's explanation to why you should be playing better, and there's just pure hate. The way they talk about some players just sounds like it's pure hate. But they're legends, so they have the classification to say that. And we can't say anything about it because they're legends. So it's just these NBA players being legends and having the status is what's hurting the game because we can't question it because we're just normal people who watch. But we watch the games and they don't. They just get the news update on their by their bosses and they tell them what to say and what to do. But I just don't believe that is something I am entertained by because it's not entertaining to me. I don't think these old heads rambling is fun to watch. I know they're going away and people are sad about it. I honestly don't care. Get them out of here. Bring us to NBC. But hey, shout out to them. They've not revived their career because they were always going to be legends. Shaq's in 40 million commercials, but they've made names for themselves after post career, and it's just ways I don't think they should be making it. Like legitimately, if they really wanted to, they could be the JJ Redicks of the world, where they are well informed, have the experience to talk about it. They can talk about their experiences being in championship locker rooms, leading championship teams, winning MVPs, having the dominant seasons, playing with these guards or role players. They can talk about experiences of the grind of the season. They have all of these experiences that us regular people don't have. I don't understand how people or these players, these legends have locker room experience. They have game plan experience. They have all of these playbooks that they have and have memorized throughout playing throughout their career, and they don't utilize it. We could have so much interesting content if we just had legends who really explained how things worked. Jeff Teague, the way he talks about his experiences in the league and his moments, they're so interesting. When he talks about he's been through a lot of stuff, and when we see the clips and he explains the clips and breaks down the clips of the locker room before, the locker room after, during the game, what he was thinking, that's honestly what more players should do. They should break down the game in terms of what they believe. A Jeff Teague podcast, it's more comedy. There's more funny stuff, but there's also breakdown and analysis of the game. And Jeff Teague is a great storyteller. Maybe he's just 101, but there should be some players who just tell more of a story if you're not going to be statistically as knowledgeable as these other people. And you don't have to be a stat nerd to be a good analyst. You can do well enough information and give plenty enough of information that people want to hear and just be the type of guy who people want to like listen to without being a stat nerd, without being some guy who knows all the plus minus percentages and stuff. But like when you're just there to just ramble and talk about nothing, me personally, I don't want to hear you. Maybe if you're a fan who just wants to see engagement and funny things, that's all for you. And that's honestly, I can't take that away from you. That's not me personally though. So that's why I personally think it's just bad for the media. I don't. I personally won't ever tune in to watch a first take or a NBA inside the NBA. It's just if it's on, it's in the either before the game or after the game, and I'm just not looking or paying attention. But yeah, this is the last year. NBA TNT Turner Sports is selling to NBC. They're gone. I mean, it was a good run. When I was a kid, I was really enjoyed by watching them All-Star game highlights, the stuff, and not the All-Star, like the interviews that they interviewed with the great players. Those are fun to me when I was 10 years old. But now I'm 18. I'm not gonna say I'm some like loser who doesn't like fun, but if it's fun, it's fun. If it's just rambling and nonsense, I don't want to hear it. There are fun content creators in the NBA who provide funny commentary on the NBA that I genuinely enjoy. I don't have to be informed 100%. There's niches that you want to watch. You can watch the stat nerds, you can watch the entertainment, but when you're partnered with the NBA and you're just rambling about honestly nonsense, that's when there's a line because there's players, there's teams and players and content creators who are not partnered by the NBA, who won't ever be partnered by the NBA, who just are 10 times more entertaining and deserve exactly what these guys are making millions deserve. in my opinion. But that's not how the world works. If the world worked like that, then there'd be a lot more. I don't know. I can't say that because it probably would be the same. Hey, shout out to the guys making millions for doing stuff that a lot of us can't do. It's a tough business in here, out here in the media world, because it's just you can be fizzled out in an instant. Also, and now we're done with the media. We could talk about this playoff race. Man, shout out to the Thunder. They are balling. 63-12. They are 7 wins away from winning 70 games for only the third time in NBA history. They are tied currently for the highest net rating in NBA history. And at this point, it's championship or bust. You gotta go prove yourself because we know what you can be. We know what you are. If you go out there, prove yourself that you are the best team in NBA history, net rating wise. Shout out to you guys. You guys are young and you guys got plenty of years ahead of you. I just am confused how this is gonna work in the future because you know what you got. You got Shea, you got Chet, J Dub, you got your whole crew around you, the defensive core, the team that is just gonna hound everyone. They can shoot. What happens when you have to pay them next year? That's my question. Because you already paid Alex Caruso. You got to pay other people. And the more people you pay, the less people you're going to retain. And it's just going to be at this point a revolving door of talent that we're going to have to go through and see what they decide. Sam Presti, we can't doubt him. He's a great GM. But what would have been if he had retained Harden, Russ, and KD? We'll never know because he couldn't retain them. He traded them because he couldn't pay them. And we know what Harden became. So it's just like you can't have the same thing happen with either Chet, J Dub, or Shea. Shea's not leaving, but you can't have the same thing happen to one of them. So I think you just got to be smart with your decisions. Sam Presti's a smart GM. He's made perfect, it's not perfect decision, but he's made some great moves throughout the year. And it's hard to tell if what he will do because like right now you just want to say pay them all. Like of course you want to pay them all. They're 63 wins. They have 7 games left. They are on pace to win 70. They just gotta close this season out strong, which they have already closed. They're on a 10-game win streak right now. I just think it's gonna be easier said than done to just pay all of them because they're all gonna be expecting maxes. Maybe Chet Holmgren has a great year next year, and you got to pay him max amount of money. What are you gonna do about that? It's hard to tell what you can possibly do about that. It's just whatever you do, just make sure you know that a championship window can close in instant. I figured this out this year. I'm a Mavs fan, and my championship window probably closed February 1st, even though we just made the finals. A team can like you can be set. You can have 70 wins this year. Next year, your team gets hurt, and then you can never recover because people have to get paid. It all comes down to maximizing your window. Teams should really take advantage of them being young and them being on rookie contracts way more. Yes, you are young, but you should not take that as, oh, we have more years. We can lose and be fine next year. No, you got to go win it all. The Thunder had this problem in 2012 when they made the finals. They lost to the Heat, and then they never returned because they could never pay anybody. That was their window, but their excuses were this is the young Thunder. They will be back. They didn't make it back. They didn't make it back because they couldn't retain their core because of what they did without paying you. Something they could have done. They had to pay Harden way too much. They've already paid Kendrick Perkins. They already paid Serge Ibaka. You have to pick something. You can't pick all of them. It doesn't work like that because the salary cap, yes, is going to go up, but then that means players are going to get more money. I just think it's tougher to maintain players nowadays because you're in a league that is heavily free agency based. Players move every year if they can, if they want to. If they don't like the situation, they're out of here. I mean, it's hard to say you won't like your situation on Thunder. You're winning games. You're going to be competing for a championship, if not this year. I mean, this year and next year, and however long they keep the score together, where they can, with all their draft picks, they can make a big move. They can draft players, develop them, and then you have the next 20 years. You have a dominant team. The Thunder could really potentially be a dynasty in terms of like they have the draft picks to maintain the level of talent that they have right now. They have the coach, they have the talent now. they can have the talent for the future. They can have the talent for whenever they want it. And I honestly believe that they are Thunder are crazy good for how young they are. And I'm actually I'm really impressed with them because they were the first seed last year. Yes, they were never taken serious by anyone. They lost in the second round despite being people writing them off so easily to the Mavericks. I just think that they showed that they can be playoff risers because the 1A really stood out in that playoff series. Shea Gilgeous really showed out and showed that he's a playoff type of guy. The others really have to prove themselves. J Dub, Chet, they didn't play too well, but that is different now when you have a different identity this year in terms of you are the best defense by like 5 points. Like it's not even close to like the second. You're that much better on defense than everyone else. You have a two big lineup that is hard to guard because they can both guard in space. They can both protect the rim. Well, maybe Chet more than iHeart, but you have a elite rim protector. You have elite point of attack defenders. It is gonna be tough to score and get the ball up the court on them. It's just they're gonna work. They're gonna work your other team, and it's just gonna be scary. I honestly did not expect this from the Thunder this year. I knew they would be the one seed. I knew they would probably. I had the start of the year. I knew they would make it to the Western Conference Finals at least. I can't say who I thought was gonna make it out because that's a little biased. But I always thought they would make it there. They did. They're honestly, in my opinion, I would bet my house that they make it to the Western Conference Finals. I don't see any team beating them in 7 games, especially with the fact that they have their 1A and they have the defense to do it. And we don't have to overthink it this year. The Celtics proved us wrong last year. We overthought it last year. They had a plus 12 net rating last year. Everyone was like, "Oh, there's the Celtics. They're gonna choke. They always do it," and it wasn't even close. They dominated. Besides maybe the Pacers series where it was more closer games, they just dominated their way to the playoffs and then won the finals without even honestly having one of your most impactful players in KP in the finals. You had him for 1 game and he was out for the rest, and it honestly didn't even seem like a challenge. So shout out to them. We can't overthink the Thunder. The Thunder, they could be young, they could be whatever, they can be this. They are talented, and that is just a different level that you are at. I don't care if I don't care if they play the Celtics, they can play the Cavs, they can play the Lakers. They're too talented, in my opinion. The Lakers will give them problems because yes, you have the point of attack defenders and rim protectors, but you also have two of the best offensive engines ever on the same team. That's where it can come into like I can see what you're talking about. And if they're coached well, the JJ Redick's a great coach. And I mean, it can go either way. I mean, LeBron, Luca, I mean, even Austin Reeves in a playoff series is quite dangerous. But the Thunder, I think, just have too much talent on the defensive end that they can just really throw honestly anybody and it'd be fine. And I can't even say it enough. Thunder are really impressive. If you watch Thunder game and you ever see like how dominant they can be for a stretch, you kind of just get shocked to think that people ever would doubt this team. Like despite who they play, they just come out and like show who and why they are what they are. And Shea should like honestly, I was asked this question: should he be unanimous? He won't be unanimous. There's too many hate. There's too much hate embezzled around his name. That's the reason why LeBron didn't win it, Shaq didn't win it. There's just too much non-believers. Curry won it because Curry was loved at the time by a lot because it was a homegrown team and he was just a lovable like guy who just changed the game of basketball. That's why he won unanimous MVP. Shea won't do it. Despite Jokic being at like all-time great levels, I honestly think it should be unanimous. He's on pace. He's at 63-12. I got to see exactly how many games he's better than the second best team in the West, but it's not even close. It's they are heavy favorites. They are what is it? They're 14 and a half games better than the second seed in the West. You're in a tougher conference, you play the tougher teams. The West is a dogfight, and you still are 14 games ahead of the next best team. That's levels to MVP. And the fact that the start of the year until December, they really didn't have a center. They were really just playing small ball and hounding, and Shea Gilgeous was playing majority of those games, and he was the reason they were winning. That to me is most impressive, and I don't even think it should be a conversation at this point. I wonder how many games he played, but he's also shooting. He's 64% true shooting at averaging 33 points a game. That's next level. I mean, that's Luka type stuff. Luka last year type stuff. Luka last year was an all-time scorer, all-time offensive engine, and he's matched that. Despite Jokic, yes, you can say his numbers are better statistically. He's a big man. He's leading his team. His staff is worse, but he's doing better. He's doing enough with worse. I just don't believe that. I think the Thunder are too good, and it's not even because it's a super team. They have a great team, but Shea is the heart and soul of that team. He runs so they can. He walks so they can run. He should be MVP. Jokic is there's no if this was any other year, Jokic would run away with it pretty heavily. But it's not his year. And it's okay. He has 3 MVPs and he's not gonna cry about it. I think he cares more about winning a championship than an MVP. He honestly didn't even seem like he cares about winning anything. He just wants to be there. But yeah, a guy like Jokic should never be underestimated, but I just think Shea should win MVP. And I also had this conversation the other day about the MVP criteria. The criteria is I can't say it's flawed because it's in my opinion, it works. It makes sense, but they need to be consistent. I was being told that it should change every year because the NBA is different every year, which makes sense if you don't think for a fact that the NBA's already cooked. It's been years of just switching it up, teams who haven't been as good as other teams, but they've been as the players been as valuable and has led them to the playoffs. They get the MVP because they're statistically dominant. I think we should just had a criteria from the start, from day one. If we restart the NBA from day one, we set a certain criteria in the rule book, and you have to follow this criteria. Top 2, 3 seeds. I'll extend that to 3. 3 seeds, top 1 to 3 in either conference. You're impactfully that type of guy on the team, and you should fit the criteria. There should be a set criteria. I don't think it should switch every year because that just like leads to inconsistencies. You can't have one year a 60 win it and the next year winning matters because then it just makes no sense how the guy won it last year just because he was more dominant statistically. But you just said winning matters this year. I think it's kind of it's weird how the NBA criteria works, and the narrative driven award that should be. I mean, narratives obviously do matter because there's context behind every situation. And if we just wanted to, I remember it was Dan Orlovsky for the MVP race in football. He said, I mean, if we want to take narratives out of it, then we can just have the computer decide who wins every year. But this is it's football. We understand there's context behind these situations. And he explained why he thought Josh Allen should have won. And I was like, Lamar Jackson is having a great year statistically, but Josh Allen narratively and with context behind the situation, you can see why he won MVP. And I think it should be the same with MVP in the. I can't say it's the same with NBA, but there's definitely understanding to why it is like that in the NBA. Because I can't say it's like the NBA because the narrative switches every year, and then they wouldn't be consistent. My whole point is that the NBA should be consistent with their criteria on why an MVP should be an MVP. MVP. And even these other awards they're weird. Most improved player is a weird award. Draymond Green said this when in 2022 when John Morant won it. There is no reason a top 2 pick from the NBA draft from 2 years ago. It was 21-22. He got drafted in 19-20 from 2 years ago. Should be awarded most improved player. We knew he would be this good. He was the top 2 pick. It shouldn't be given to those type of players. And I agree heavily with that. Cade Cunningham was the first overall pick. He has been injured. He has been on bad teams. The first year he's been on a good team. He balls out, and now it's not even close. He's gonna win most improved player. But it's like, did we not expect Cade Cunningham to be this good? He was he was the black Luca to a lot of people. And it's like, can we really award someone who is a top 1 to 2, 3 pick for to going into the year? The favorite for most improved player was Wemby. Wemby it was a rookie last year. Why would he win MVP last? Why would he win most improved player? He just won rookie of the year and had one of the greatest rookie years of all time. Why are we gonna give him most improved player? He's good already. What do you mean he's most improved? It's just is it's kind of it's weird to me how they do it. There's last year, who won it? It was Tyrese Maxey won it. Tyrese Maxey was already averaging 20 points. We knew what he was. He was just a third option. He just got he more run since there was injuries. Why did Kobe White not win it? He went from averaging, what was it, 9 points to 18 the year after? Balling, by the way, for the Bulls. Why did he not win it? He made the biggest improvement. He went from a low tier NBA role player to a guy who can get buckets in the league. In 2020, he went from 9.7 points, shooting 44% and 37% for three, to 19 points, the same level of efficiency, just taking more shots and making way more shots. He just got more burned too. Honestly, it's the same thing. Got more burned. But if it's just the who gets more burn award, who gets an advancement in the role, leave it at that. But I just think it's weird. Like, is next year is Zachary Ricochet gonna win most improved player because he went from like an all right rookie to a great player? Is that we're gonna give it to him? He's the first overall pick. I think it's just weird how they do it, and it should be more players who have evolved in clear ways that we've noticed and have seen. Norman Powell, when he was playing and healthy, and Kawhi was hurt, and it was Harden, and he was a role player his whole life, and all of a sudden, when Paul George leaves, he becomes a 25-point per game scorer, damn near in all-star conversations, and he wasn't even front runner to win. It was Cade Cunningham. That's when they lost the plot on the award. Wemby being front runner, that's when the conversations really started. Even when Tyrese Maxey won, that's when the conversations really started. But I think it's the conversations are justified because we should understand the context around the award and why a player who's already viewed as good shouldn't win a most improved award. But yeah, besides that, West is a dogfight, as we've talked about before. The East is heating up in terms of the fact that we pretty much know, unless there's anything crazy, unless a play-in upset happens, what the seedings are going to be. Not the seedings, but the teams are going to be. Unless we get a red hot Bulls and a play-in who make a run, I highly doubt it. But we got Cavs, Magic, 1-8. Cavs, Magic, Cavs, Hawks, either one. I the Cavs in 5. To be honest, the Cavs they're on a little. They're not as dominant as they were. They are on a little bit of a up and down. But I honestly think whoever they play, Magic, Hawks, it's gonna be a wash, and it's gonna be 5 games. One game where the Cavs just can't hit anything. The script. I already have the script. Boston Hawks. Boston might sweep. Whoever they play, they're gonna sweep. The Boston Celtics are too good in the playoffs, especially with the fact that they know that they just gonna handle business against a team that they know they're better than, and that shouldn't really even be in the playoffs. They're just in the East. They're gonna handle business. Knicks, Bucks. That is going to be a series. If Dame can come back healthy, I don't think he will. The deep vein thrombosis, I doubt he's out. He's going to play in the playoffs. Another year where the duo isn't healthy and they can't play. Dame and Giannis are the biggest bust of a superstar duo in a while. They just haven't been that good together. Not as good as we expect them to be. Coming into the year last year, we expected them to be on the same level as the Celtics. And they just fell flat with their coach. They fired him. They hired Doc Rivers, and they just couldn't stay healthy. Even in the playoffs, they got hurt. The whole team was hurt. This year, they come in, they win the cup. They still just can't stay healthy. Bobby Portis got suspended. The Dame and Giannis have just been in and out the lineup. Well, they have improved. It's been more of like a team chemistry problem where it's just They clearly don't mess with each other in terms of basketball playing ability. They just don't fit well together. Shockingly, knowing like a big and a elite ball handler should be able to fit together. They just don't. Giannis is too ball dominant, and I think Dame is too ball dominant as well. They're just both too much need the ball in their hands that it just doesn't work. So I think the Knicks win that one. Even though the Knicks have their moments of like lack of defense and lack of ability to play make or score with Jalen Brunson out. Jalen Brunson is most likely going to be there. Jalen Brunson is going to perform in the playoffs. He's going to have his wing defenders to guard the ball handlers. They're going to have most likely the two big lineup with Josh Hart off the bench, which sounds more realistic when you're playing against Giannis. If he plays, the injury bug might hit him. I think I got the Knicks in that one. Knicks in 5. Detroit versus Indiana. That's gonna be the slept on series. The one of the good series of the thing is gonna be fast paced ball. It's gonna be point guard duel. It's gonna be who the young teams versus the young teams. The Pacers just made off of Eastern Conference Finals. They want to prove themselves. They want to get back to where they were. Who knows? They could. The Detroit, they want to prove themselves as well. They want to prove that they're just not a young team they're here to stay. They want to punch the team in the mouth. That's what they are. They want to be the bad boys. It's sad to them. That's a coach you want to establish, especially as a first year coach coming off a year where the team was god awful. And yeah, honestly, I have that going to 6 or 7. That could be a really good series if there's no injuries. But injuries always happen. If Cade can come back healthy, play, I think that'll be a good one. And in the East, I mean, is it crazy to say that's the 2-man race between the Cavs and the Celtics? I don't think it's that crazy. I think these two teams are just on a different level compared to other teams. No matter who the Celtics play, it really just comes down to their players just realizing that they're just more talented, better coached, and have the experience to win, and they have been through more things. They're better defensively. It just comes down to them realizing that they are just that team, and it really just will be over at that point. The Celtics shot creation is another level. It's just hard. It's hard to guard guys when there's a guy on the court who can hit a shot at all times. Because if they play 5 out without Horford with KP, they're still going to be a great rebounding team. They have the guards to do it. They have the big men to do it. Even everyone on the team rebounds, everyone on the team defends, and everyone on the team shoots. They're just way too talented for any team to really mess with them. If we want to be delusional and say that any team in the East besides the Cavs potentially could mess with them, I guess we can. The Cavs, I think that they're two big lineups. If Evan Mobley shows us what he can be, will be special in the playoffs because defensively they're going to be great. They're just going to be funneling in the guys to the two bigs who can roam and do defensive things that Evan Mobley is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. They're a top 5 defense or a top 5 offense. They're like that. Respectfully, they're like that. They just have the bad image on their name since what happened in not even last year. What happened against the Knicks? Because when that year they went in, they were expected to beat the Knicks. They were expected to make a run. They didn't do it. They just fell short. Lost in 5. It was kind of embarrassing how they lost. Game 1 was close, and everything else was just the Knicks just showing why they were better. And I think people still have that persona on the Cavs, and they just don't want to take them serious. But I genuinely think that they could be different. And the fact they have Darius Garland, who can take a step up in terms of playmaking and shot creation in the playoffs, it just comes down to them guarding. Donovan Mitchell, he just got to prove himself not prove himself, but, get back to what he used to be in terms of playoff rising. And Evan Mobley, you got to be able to create a shot. We got other shot creators on the court, but we need you because you are the X factor. If you can create your shot, if you can put the ball on the floor and punish these guys for playing lesser defenders on you, you can do that, and you should do that. That honestly will raise your championship ceiling. And then Cavs Celtics. I mean, I would love to say the Cavs, but honestly, I don't see any team other than the Thunder beating the Celtics. And I can't even say the Lakers because I just think the Celtics just are more talented than them. Besides the fact that they just have 3 guys who can handle the ball and shoot and do all this stuff. And the offensive engine is going to be crazy for the Lakers if they can get past the Celtics. I don't see any team beating the Celtics besides the Thunder. That's why I think I see a Thunder Celtics finals. It's boring. No one wants to see it. We'd love to see the Thunder win because they're young over the Celtics, who are we don't want a dynasty. The Thunder winning over the Celtics would be it'd be just probably the better's favorite. Honestly, I'm going with the better's favorite. I don't see this is not March Madness. This is just who the best team wins despite injury. Without injury, the best team wins, and who who game plans and strategizes the hardest and the best. So we'll see. We'll see in a couple days, couple weeks when the playoffs start. Speaking about playoffs, my fantasy playoffs. I am in the championship game. I made it past the luck man. He beat me last year. So yeah, we just come out into the playoffs. This last week of basketball is comes down to a lot. Can win some big money. Can become a two-time champion in our league. We've had this league since 2020, and we're going strong. We're going to continue to go strong, and I can't wait to see in 20 years how this league looks when I have 15 championships and everyone else has none. But if you guys are still listening, thank you. I really appreciate it. I want to let you guys know that we need. If you're watching this, like the video. If you can still see this, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week on Tuesday, where hopefully we will get into some play-in predictions where the season will most likely be over soon. And we'll have more of a grasp of what the teams will be and what the positioning and seedings will be. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week for another episode of the One and Done Radio Show.